If you think Kena Bridge of Spirits looks basically like a Disney or Pixar animation movie, then you're right on the money. Developed by Ember Lab, a studio better known for its CGI animation shorts than its video game prowess, Kena Bridge of Spirits feels like an animation movie that's come to life, and I, for one, love it. Released in September 2021, the game was widely lauded by video game and animation fans alike, receiving multiple award nominations and wins. It also fared pretty well critically, receiving an 8 out of 10 rating from IGN and a 9 out of 10 on Gamespot. Some have gone so far as to say the game is just as good as Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yeah, no, it's good, but not that good. I don't quite agree with the assertion. I had to play the game and find out for myself. Having sunk 9 fun-filled hours into this brightly colored, cartoony game, here's my review on Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Let me help you. I can heal these spirits and restore balance to the forest.
I know you are kind.
Okay, we're gonna start with the story and narrative. In the game, you play as Kena, the titular character. She's a young spirit guide who helps corrupted or unfulfilled spirits find peace and pass on to the other side. In the game, Kena travels to an abandoned village in search of an ancient mountain shrine. She's then tasked with unraveling the mystery behind the village and the spirits that lurk within it. So the plot of the game sounds like something straight out of a Studio Ghibli animation movie, and just to expound on that point, Kena is accompanied on her quest by adorable, fluffy spirit creatures known as Rot, whose cuddliness and animation style bear an uncanny resemblance to the suit sprites from Spirited Away. Also, besides being a spirit shrink with an awesome magic staff, we know very little about Kena or her backstory. This is a shame because she seems like a genuinely interesting heroine, and she's the only character we spend most of the game with. Most of the other characters in the game are either old or dead, and the others are super boring except for the Rots. Of course, those little critters are awesome, man. Ultimately, if you've watched any Disney or Pixar animation movie like Coco, Moana, Raya, and the Lost Dragon, etc., then you should be quite conversant with the game's storyline. It doesn't have intricate lore behind it, but it does serve up an incredibly exciting world for gamers to explore. So now let's talk about the gameplay. Kena's gameplay consists of platforming, puzzle solving, exploration, and most important of all, combat. Kena explores a spellbinding mountainous village with verdant trees, bushes, bridges, nuts, and the like. Accompanied by your Rot companions, you will journey up the mountain while helping the spirits you meet along the way. The Rot do more than just follow you around and be cute. You can command them to move objects around, take specific shapes, and even distract your enemies during combat. They are also super helpful with puzzle solving, so yeah, they're really awesome. Another mechanic of the game that's helpful with solving puzzles is Kena's pulse ability. It goes off when you're near a clue, and it also generates a bubble used for defense and parrying during combat. It's kind of like Kena's very own handy-dandy spider sense, if you know what I mean. There are also collectibles and areas to explore in the world, like flower shrines, meditation spots, and so on. Besides the meditation spots, which permanently increases your HP, I didn't find much use for the locations and collectibles in the game. For example, restoring the flower shrines rewarded me with karma, which I used for upgrades. But the upgrades in the game are oftentimes so minute, I hardly noticed they were even there. And while collecting hats for my Rots felt like a nice touch at first, after I've collected like 10 of them, I seriously got bored with the whole thing and started wondering whether collecting these tiny hats was the best use of my time as a grown man, you know? Needless to say, those aren't the kind of thoughts you want to entertain while playing a video game. All right, let's talk combat. Combat is one of the areas where the game really shines. At first, the game's combat was just a dull mishmash of light and heavy attacks with Kena's staff, but after you've unlocked a few extraordinary abilities, it becomes pretty enjoyable. I found the spirit bow pretty handy during my playthrough, especially for taking out enemies from a long distance. The spirit bomb was also great for turning the tide of a boss battle, especially against the really spongy bosses like Corrupt Rot Boss. That dude felt more like an Elden Ring boss, if I'm being honest. Speaking of boss battles, some of them really gave me the run for my money. The Corrupted Woodsmith fight was hands down the best in my books. Also, figuring out whether to use the courage I received during battle for my rot abilities or just to heal myself gave me an existential crisis I didn't expect to get from a cartoony adventure game of this sort. However, I did wish Kena had more weapons at her disposal besides just her staff. Granted, the staff could also be used as a bow or even as a shield, but a bit of weapon variety would have, in my humble opinion, made combat even more exciting. Next is graphics and performance. The game has really impressive graphics, especially since it's the first game developed by the studio. The visuals look immaculate. Kena's world has a beautiful, ancient Japanese aesthetic that's just incredible to behold. It's quite similar to Ghost of Tsushima, well, without the katanas and screaming Mongols, of course. The game's performance is also great, especially when playing on the PS5. Both the fidelity and performance modes offer up an amazing visual spectacle that's simply a buffet for the eyes, especially if you're a fan of Disney animation. Next is replayability. Kena Bridge of Spirits has a low level of replayability. Being a story-driven adventure game, there's no co-op or multiplayer modes to speak of. The storyline is also exceptionally linear, so no alternative endings either. The collectibles are also underwhelming, to say the least. But the game's combat can prove a little difficult, especially when cranked up to the highest setting. This goes double for its exceptional boss fights. Ultimately, the game is probably one I would complete once, or at most twice, and probably never look back. So I'll be giving Kena Bridge of Spirits 3 out of 5 stars. It's a fun, family-friendly adventure game which surprisingly has some pretty hard-hitting combat. Is a game as good as Breath of the Wild? Fat chance. But it is a well-made, exciting, story-driven game. It truly is. With all said and done, I think it's a game everyone should buy. If not for you, then at least for your kids, or whatever. So do you agree or disagree with my review? Let me know what you think in the comments. We make awesome content like this every week, so remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for weekly updates on new videos. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. We'll see you in the next one.